How to beat Amazon? It's a question on the minds of not only retailers, but a whole lot of tech companies. And I've got just a group of people to get us closer to answering that question on this edition of Fortt Knox. I am John Fortt. This is Fortt Knox, Rich Ideas and Powerful People. I'm at the New York Stock Exchange today, and we're going to talk to Dan Rosenzweig. First of all, we're going to talk to an upstart, an insider, and a founder. The upstart is Dan Rosenzweig. He is the CEO of CHEGG. Nadia Shurabora is going to join us a little bit later. She's the CEO of Pointer and a former executive at Amazon who reported to Jeff Bezos. And then Anthony Bucci is founder of RevZilla, which is a motorcycle parts and equipment company that's managed to carve out a niche that hasn't been Amazonable quite yet. We are going to dig into all of that. Also this week on the podcast, John Chen, CEO of BlackBerry and Enterprise Turnaround Audience, sits down with me for the one-on-one. But first, Dan Rosenzweig, how you doing?
I'm good, John. How you been?
I've been doing well, and I've been wanting to do this particular topic for a while, because while the conventional wisdom is that Amazon is just beating everybody, they're unstoppable, there are a few companies that have managed to carve out niches and absolutely grow. CHEGG is one of them. I wrote down a few more. Etsy, I mean, Amazon did Amazon Handmade. They have not bowled over Etsy at this point. Shopify is a big competitor, even in the e-commerce space, that has managed to arm a number of companies against Amazon. Best Buy was supposed to be dead. They're not. But you're the CEO of CHEGG, which is a remarkable company. Started off in textbook rentals, has expanded into all kinds of student services, including study aids and more. What would you say is the main thing that's kept you from getting Amazon? Because, I mean, hey, books, that's Amazon's bread and butter. You would think they would have blocked all entrance into every category in books.
Yeah, and they tried. In typical Amazon fashion, right after we went public, they announced they were going into the textbook rental business and copying us. And investors didn't like that, and we took a beating in the public markets. But we always knew that we had our own vision, our own mission, and that we were going to digitize the company. And look, the way to beat anybody is to become who you need to be. We said we're going to put the students first. We're not going to worry about what Amazon does or what anybody else does. Let's focus on our audience. Let's focus on their needs. Let's be more nimble. Let's be more efficient. Let's make sure that we have assets that are unique to us, that are beneficial to the student. Let's build a business model that recognizes that if you're in a commodity business and you're going to lose to Amazon. So we focused all of our attention on putting the student first, building a series of services, using big data, and then really leveraging, John, the kinds of companies that you love, like Adobe, which is, we said if we own the customer, if we own the data, if we own the channel, which is the internet, and we own proprietary content, we ought to be able to create overwhelming value for the student, regardless of what Amazon tries to do.
Well,
and
Dan,
that's what we focused on doing.
I want to get into some of that because at the time, right after CHEGG had its IPO, your business was mostly textbook rental.
80%.
After that, after that, you diversified a lot. You've bought some other companies. You've done a lot in services, student services outside of just textbook rentals. Now, a lot of people say, if you want to go against Amazon or any kind of big, powerful incumbent, don't necessarily try to underprice them. Don't necessarily try to offer more variety than they do on kind of an object basis, but you got to get super close to the customer and what their need is and hope you can somehow super serve them. Is that part of your playbook?
Yeah, I think that's the exact playbook, which is what does Amazon have? They have unlimited resources. They have an investor base that will let them lose as much money as they want. They can always beat you on shipping. They can beat you on pricing. They can beat you on variety. So in a commodity business, which we're not, but we were when we were textbook rental, you can't play their game. If you play somebody else's game, they're going to beat you. So you need to change the playing field. We changed the playing field. We said, let's focus on the student needs. They don't just need textbook rental. They need to know how to get into college. They need to understand their homework. They need to pass their classes. They need to get internships. They need to get jobs. Amazon can't do any of that, and they have no advantages in any of those businesses. So why play someone else's game where they're likely to win? Play the game that you know how to play, execute better, be more nimble, be more efficient, be more scrappy, and then you can take on and beat Amazon. And we're not the only ones to do it. I'm on the board of Rent the Runway. They've done an extraordinary job of building a rental business and then a subscription business. It's all about what you said, John, getting close to the customer, using the data to be able to program more efficiently, more effectively, and more relevant, do it for less, and then keep providing overwhelming value. Same thing holds true, by the way. I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
I want to dig out lessons here that not just other companies, but also entrepreneurs can use in trying to figure out how to come to market in this kind of environment that's dominated by some big players. So I'm wondering, what are some of the, I guess, resources, factors that you need in place if you're going to pursue this strategy? Well, do you have to have extra capital, extra money and savings built up? Do you have to be particularly patient? Is there a particular type of employee or advisor that you need to have in place who's going to be able to help you to maneuver better versus that size of an adversary who's that well-resourced?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so you need a long-term vision. You need to get people to buy into that vision. That starts with your board, and it starts with the investors, because there's a 90% chance that Amazon is going to go after you if you have an interesting market that they think can be big or they think that they can benefit from. So if you know that going into it, you got to ask yourself, I need capital, I need long-term capital, I need a board that's going to help me withstand the initial hit, because that's what they're going to do. You need to be able to articulate your story, have it with confidence, bring your employees into that conversation, let them know that you expect it to happen, and then let them know you have a plan to deal with it. And once they buy in, you don't worry about it anymore. You just keep executing, executing, executing. You don't get scared. You don't lose touch with your customer. So if you know it's going to come, you can prepare for it, and then you don't worry about it. You just execute. But they absolutely are going to come at you. And the good companies are saying, look, I know they are. I can withstand it. And then once I withstand it, I'm going to be better with my customer than they can. Because the one thing they can never do is get nimble, get more efficient, really get deep with that customer. They do everything just by brute force. And you can beat companies with brute force, right? We all know that. And we've been successful, as have others.
Yeah, it reminds me of the old days playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I wonder, you were a top executive at Yahoo years ago before you became the CEO at CHEGG, and Yahoo was going through a period. It had been one of the biggest companies in Silicon Valley, a pioneer in the online, web browser-led age. And then Google came along, and a lot of people were comparing Yahoo to Google. Is the playbook Yahoo should have followed similar to what so many companies find themselves up against in this kind of Amazon, Facebook, Alphabet, Apple, Netflix era? Or, what are the similarities and differences that you see competing as CHEGG versus what you did competing as Yahoo?
Well, that was, almost 11 years ago. But I do have a recollection. Look, the lessons are always the same, which is you have to be very clear on your vision, very clear on your mission. You have to be able to stick to the core of it, but be nimble. You have to recognize that in the world of technology, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. And you have to be prepared for the days when you're the bug. So at CHEGG, we knew that we weren't going to be in textbook rentals, so we had already been prepared to go digital. Amazon entering made us do it faster, but we were prepared to do it. I knew from the Yahoo experience there's always going to be a competitor or a rainy day. So CHEGG went out and raised a lot of capital. We have nearly $500 million in capital now. And so there are lessons, and most of them are around don't lose the long-term vision. Focus on the customer, create overwhelming value, use the technology that's available. Back in the Yahoo days, Google was going to beat us in search. That was inevitable. But we didn't have to lose in other things like homepage or mail or other things. And you can get easily distracted or play for the fear of the moment. What we've all come away with is stay focused, stay nimble, stay focused on your customer. You want to have a direct relationship with your customer. You want to be able to use that data. You want to be able to use the internet to deliver your content more efficiently, and you want to own proprietary content. Yahoo didn't own proprietary content. We own the aggregation of content. So at some point, if we didn't own content, we were going to become commoditized, and that's what happened.
Well, now let's get an inside look and get a startup's look. Once again, this is Fortt Knox. We are talking about how to beat Amazon. Not an easy thing to do. Amazon does pretty well. We could have just as easily called it how to survive Amazon. But hey, if you can survive, then you can win. Right now, I want to bring in Nadia Shurabura, the CEO of Pointer. She was one of the direct reports to Jeff Bezos before she left Amazon about, I think it was 6 or so years ago. Nadia, you can correct me there. And then Anthony Bucci is founder of RevZilla, which specializes in motorcycle gear. And I guess it helps that it's heavy. It's harder to ship some motorcycle gear, but hey, it's an area that Amazon was going to move into eventually. So you clearly had to prepare and think about what you were going to do. Welcome to both of you. Nadia, I want to start with you. So it's been a while since you were working at Amazon, but you saw the growth of this giant out of just books and electronics into so many other areas. Does it ring true that Amazon can't really focus on everything, can't get deep customer relationships in every segment? And so if you want to compete, you got to compete on customer experience?
You know, many people think of Amazon as this big company, big gorilla, and big company with infinite amount of resources and brute force and things like that. I actually disagree with that. I've been with the company for many, many years. And it's actually a very human company and in some respect, a very kind company. And the company who is deeply obsessed with customer experience and is deeply obsessed with new services and reinventing the world to make it a better place. And so it is capable of focusing on many different subjects because the whole organization is divided into many small teams. And every small team is just like a startup. And as a part of startup, you're obsessed with your area, you're obsessed with customers. But within the walls of Amazon, we don't think of ourselves as big or powerful or with limited resources. It's a human and it's a kind company.
Okay, so how do you beat it? You're clearly still affected by the culture. You're still referring to Amazon as we. If you can't beat it necessarily by focusing, if it's operating as a startup at many levels, how do you think some of these companies have managed to do it? CHEGG has carved out a niche for itself.
And John, if I could just say, look, I don't know if Amazon's a kind company or not a kind company, but every time that a competitor comes out, Amazon suddenly lowers its prices. It's like when Google said we'll do no evil, and they suddenly changed search algorithms, which is people can believe what they want to believe, but when you compete with these companies, they do it by brute force. They may act like startups inside the company, but when they went in the textbook rental business, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars to do it, to take us on, and actually had to say on their conference call that they missed their numbers that quarter because they were off on the textbook number, which I never thought Amazon would ever even say on a conference call. So they may be a wonderfully kind company at the executive management level, but they play to win, and when you're going to play against Amazon, you have to play to win, and you can.
You know,
so Nadia,
I agree with.
How do you do it?
Yeah.
You advise brick and mortar companies on this very topic. What do you tell them?
So what I tell them is that we need to create an experience for customer which makes Amazon less exciting for customers. And it's all about creating this new experience, innovating experience, experience which supersede Amazon's experience. And to me, that's the only way to compete with Amazon for customer attention.
Anthony, weigh in here, because when RevZilla was getting started, you guys looked at strong communities online and how they, I guess, managed to cater to their consumer base before figuring out exactly how you were going to carve out your niche. Am I right?
Absolutely. So I would look through the lens of being defensible against Amazon in a few different ways, but I'm going to bridge all the way back to the value creation piece. I think that people think they want innovative experiences, but really what drives them is going to be pain or need. And when you think about those communities, and you think about when we dipped into the market as a startup out of our apartment for RevZilla in 2007, we had a great feedback loop with our customers. We talked to lots of customers every day, and we understood their pain. And when you can do that, you can do things that Amazon might not be willing to do. Amazon's going to throw budget at it. They're going to compete on speed, price, and selection. Go ahead.
How did you manage to talk to so many customers every day? I mean, did you have brick and mortar motorcycle shops? Had you assembled a community already? I mean, that's a problem that a lot of entrepreneurs have right off the bat. I mean, they have an idea, maybe they have some insight into an area, but they don't necessarily have access to hundreds of potential customers.
So it's a great question. I love that question. When we started, there were 3 of us, and we had no employees, and we never raised capital. We were bootstrapped the whole ride. So ultimately, our customers were calling us. And when we're in a considered purchase category, so it's specialty retail. It's a $400 helmet or a $1,000 leather jacket. It's hard to buy. It's emotional. There's a lot of information someone needs to make that purchase. So in answering questions that would help someone find a solution to allow themselves to enjoy the riding, we ultimately began to compile, here are the things we hear all the time. These are real issues in the market for the consumer. Why isn't another online player, Amazon, some of our competitors at the time in our space, the brick and mortar dealerships, why aren't they answering these questions for the consumer? So we focused on that customer pain, and even when we were small, we took all the phone calls and all of the emails. You know, within a few years, we had scaled the business and we're on a rapid growth curve. But one of the big things that we did was we made sure we had feedback loops that still allowed us to hear those questions and those insights that were coming from the consumer, understanding what they needed. We scaled customer service around it. We scaled community around it. We scaled content around it. We did video on YouTube that allowed us to really inform our customers in a scalable way without having to take every phone call. So we, in a sense, educated the market and really competed as a media entity through that type of authority as well, and then monetized as a retailer. So that was our big hook, which was we became an indispensable resource.
Dan Rosenzweig, any of that sound familiar in how you have scaled CHEGG into, I mean, it's really very much a name brand, particularly among college students. I visit my alma mater college campus pretty regularly, and it's become a strong brand among students. How do you do that?
We have 84%.
How do you do that when you're in one place?
Yeah, we have 84% brand recognition on college's campus now, and we have more than 1 out of every 2 college kid registered with us. You know, our business has been growing. Our subscription business has been growing at over 44% each quarter, and we're profitable. So what we've done, but it's taken 8.5 years to do that. And so I want to go back. So everything I heard does resonate with me. Look, Amazon is an amazing company. What I would say is, my old roots of being in special interest magazine publishing or at Yahoo or even at Guitar Hero when I was CEO of Guitar Hero, the same things hold true. If you stay focused on your customer, it's easier now, believe it or not, John, to compete because you have a direct relationship with your customer as your consumer. There's nobody in between you. So you know what they want, what they don't want. The second is you own the channel directly to them, which means it's faster, it's more efficient than it's ever been. And if you own your own content, your own experience, you can actually improve it immediately. You don't have to go to somebody else to make it better for you. And that allows you to create overwhelming value. So, you know, customers love Amazon because of its price and its efficiency, and you can get something in an hour if you live in a big city, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to have a better relationship, a deeper relationship, you want to be engaged with what you're doing, then Amazon is never going to be the place for you. It's going to be companies that know their customers better. And because you have the data now, we can focus every day on what customers like and what they don't like, and we can change it in an hour. By the way, when we were competing with Amazon in the textbook rental business, why are we doing over 6 million textbooks a year, even though they entered the market? It's because we built algorithms that could tune faster to the students' pricing needs than Amazon could. So everything I've heard does resonate with me. I would say don't be afraid, but be yourself. Be authentic. Have your brand be authentic. Relate to your customers. Don't let them down. And use the technology to create overwhelming value. And you could be a company like the ones you're talking to today.
Well, this is Fortt Knox. We are talking about how to beat Amazon. With me for this show, Dan Rosenzweig is the CEO of CHEGG, which specializes in serving students, started with textbook rentals and has gone way beyond that. Nadia Shorabura is CEO of Pointer, which helps brick and mortar retailers adapt to the digital age. She was one of the direct reports to Jeff Bezos years ago, and she worked at Amazon. And Anthony Bucci is founder of RevZilla, which specializes in motorcycle parts and merchandise and has carved out a niche. Nadia, I want to go back to you. Talk case studies a little bit. Best Buy is at least primarily brick and mortar retailer. It's adapted to the digital age. A lot of people thought they were dead as Barnes and Noble but they've had a bit of a renaissance. From your perspective, working with brick and mortar retailers every day, what did Best Buy get right? And I mean, I know nobody's ever out of the woods, but are they out of the woods yet when it comes to Amazon competition, or are there some things that you think a retailer like that still has to tighten up?
You know, I think I'm excited about Best Buy, and they actually taught Amazon a lot because if you looked 7, 8 years ago, Amazon didn't think about physical contact with a customer, physical stores. And we were very focused on online fulfillment, but the whole idea of opening a store and talking to customer directly was really weird. And what Best Buy did is they stuck to what they know best, which is the store and the experience. And a customer does need to come to the store and play with electronics, touch a toy, try on apparel, and have this experience with the product. And what Best Buy did is they doubled down on that physical in-store experience, and they kept their customers. And, you know, now I'm not surprised that Amazon is looking at stores and is opening stores and also thinking how to reinvent even further that experience in a store. The most recent Amazon Go and Amazon Connected Home or Amazon Bookstore and Amazon Apparel Store. I wouldn't be surprised, and of course Whole Foods, so I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon will continue entering the bricks and mortar area and facing the customer directly.
Yeah, that's a lot of stores. Every once in a while, a viewer will send in a comment that is right along the lines of what we're talking about. Cheryl Earhart says people need to understand here there are many small people behind Amazon. My mom used to sell on Amazon and sell $2,000 a month in retirement. So it's a company that allows people to also be a part of sales. Anthony, talk about why you decided, why RevZilla decided to strike it out on its own rather than work through a company like Amazon as a third-party retailer or reseller. There are others like Shopify, which I would count as another upstart that's successfully challenging Amazon, Etsy, another, that have sort of set up some of that capability. But what sort of choices are you making when you're deciding to build your own brand rather than do it on somebody else's platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's actually a pretty loaded question, too. So I ran the business for almost 9 years, and it came up nearly every 6 months because we knew there would be incremental sales benefit if we were to release our product catalog to Amazon's third-party marketplace and allow Amazon to represent our products online. Now, granted, we were a third-party retailer, right? We sold a lot of other people's products. But as a leader in our space and trying to train our consumers, start with us. Start with our ecosystem. Start with our community. Start with our content. What we didn't want to do was train them that instead of coming to us, to allow ourselves to be disintermediated where our consumer now goes to Amazon. I probably shop on Amazon every day. Prime is the greatest thing ever. But when I need something specific, I want to work with someone that can help me via website or the phone or chat. And I want to be able to build a relationship where a business can be my Sherpa. And we said, can we be the Sherpa for the consumer? And if so, we need to send a message to the motorcycle aftermarket as well as our competitors. To do that, you don't lease your eyeballs away. You don't train your customer to go to another channel. You own a direct relationship with your consumer, and then you figure out what they need and how to create value, as we've heard multiple times today, for them on a continual basis. And that was, you know, a big tool for us in keeping people on our site, but also building the authority and brand equity over time.
But Anthony, it's risky. Just a personal story. I shop on Amazon a lot too. But just yesterday, I was looking for a gift for someone. It's a flute case, and I went to musiciansfriend.com because I shopped on that for guitar gear more than a decade ago. I went on, was looking for flute cases, didn't see what I was looking for, even used their little pop-up chat on the site. They couldn't really help me. So I had to go to Amazon because the selection was better. What sort of customer service do you have to be prepared to deliver if you're in that position and you do decide to strike it out and stay on your own?
So every business needs to decide where they're going to invest and what those strategic pillars are going to look like. At RevZilla, we looked at it and said we're going to be industry leading from service and knowledge. And thankfully, we competed as a media company as well as a technology company and built a lot of our own tools. So we were prepared to, an anecdote that I tell a lot is in the early days, we'd get a phone call typically from a male rider, maybe in his 40s, and would say, hey, listen, I live in Seattle, I ride 200 days a year, I get rained on all the time, I have $500 to spend on a jacket, and I run really hot, I need lots of venting. That's an hour-long phone conversation. At the end, we've helped that rider find what they were looking for, but they say, I'm going to buy from you, and I'm going to tell people, everyone I ride with, that you exist, and I hope you never change. And we learned really early on, we need to scale parts of that conversation, and we need to be ready to have that in-depth deep dive if we need to. But that's how you sell amazing lemonade that hooks people for life and they keep coming back to you. And that's ultimately over the longer term, when you align the interests of the business or the mission of the business with the interests of the consumer, how you can keep them loyal and keep them returning and keep them engaged. And that was really the secret sauce for us. We scaled it tremendously.
I think that's an excellent point, which is, we decided that our mission from day one was we were going to put the student first. And that meant we were going to build an ecosystem around making sure that the student never felt alone, that we were available 24/7, because this is when they're studying. This is when they need answers. This is when they need help. This is when they're most stressed. And so I was just up in Portland yesterday with 50 of our customer service people and sat in with some of them on the phone. And the way they handle our customers is they understand them, they respect them, they know these are young people, they know that money matters, they know that they're going to be stressed, they know this is a call they don't want to make when something's happening or they can't get access or they got billed and they didn't want to get billed or they don't know where their book is. And so we're able to tune every piece of our software, every piece of our tools and technology, the hours that we're available, the sources that you can reach us, whether it's on Twitter or it's on Facebook or it's directly through us or on email. Everything that we do is tuned because we respect and understand the needs of that particular customer. And so they love us. And that's why we have 84% brand recognition. It's why over half our customers come in through referral. It's why our traffic is almost all organic at this point. We haven't even, we have not only not raised our annual marketing budget in the last 3 years, it's not only down as a percentage of our revenue, but it's down overall. And the reason is because of some of the things you just heard. When you build that relationship of trust and respect, and it's not just price and speed. There are things that price and speed matters. But when you're building something, a relationship with a customer, it's much deeper than that, and the customers will reward you.
Want to get a quick final word from each of you. Nadia, you first, for an earlier stage retailer who's looking to go the distance in this environment against the Amazons and everybody else. What is the main area that you would advise that they look on investing a bit more in, whether it is product? Of course, you got to have an excellent product, but do you need to go above and beyond there, expecting that that'll lift you? Customer service, market research, what?
I think I think as merchants or retailers, you actually don't have to focus on beating Amazon or competing Amazon, because Amazon is a good partner too. In fact, the vast majority of products sold on Amazon.
What area should you focus on? Even, and I'm not saying focus on Amazon. I'm saying within your own business, if you want to go the distance, which of those areas, what areas should you focus on investing more in?
I think product is, of course, the most important in retail. Product, the emotional connection with a customer, and many other things. But focusing on all that, I usually recommend folks I work with not to work against Amazon, but work with Amazon and use Amazon as yet another very good channel to make money and to connect with more customers and use them as a great fulfillment platform. There is no tyranny of or there. And there are many great brands on Amazon who sell through Amazon. And I'm glad that Cheryl made that comment earlier that her mother build a good business working with Amazon. So I think don't think of it as a tyranny of or. Consider Amazon as a partner, but also consider the important things like your product and the connection with a customer.
Though that wouldn't have worked for RevZilla or CHEGG, I dare say. Anthony, what's the area
not only would it have
advise?
not worked for us, John, Amazon won't let us work with them as a partner. Just so we're clear. Right. They will not let us
you
market
go next,
through
Dan,
them.
and we'll let Anthony have the last word. Dan, what is the area that you would advise businesses that are in the younger stage to focus on in this environment?
Stay as close to your customer as humanly possible. They will tell you through their actions what they like and what they don't like, where they find value and where they don't find value. The beauty of the internet right now, the beauty of owning the customer and owning the data and owning the channel, which we own all of them, and we own proprietary content, is we don't have to guess. They'll tell us. And if you listen, then you can focus on whatever it is, whether it's building a physical product or building a digital product. The customer is in charge in this era, and if you leverage that relationship, you can sustain anything that these companies do to you. But you also need to always think long term.
Right. Invest in that customer, that direct customer relationship. Anthony, last word on this to you. Where would you advise a young business to invest?
Last word's a layup. It's proprietary insights. If you have $1 to spend, you invest it understanding your customer because you learn their secrets in the best sense of it, and then you do the things that your competitors won't do to address those secrets and create value. And a lot of times it's pulling roadblocks, creating value through eliminating pain. It's what Amazon won't do. They won't go the last 10% for the customer. If you can do that, your customers will love you.
All right. Well, on this subject, we will leave it there. Dan, Nadia,
and,
Anthony,
if I may jump in, I respectfully disagree with the last
I understand
comment.
that you disagree, still love Amazon, but we got to be done with this topic for now. Lots of great insight. People will certainly go back and get into this. Coming up on the podcast, John Chen, CEO of BlackBerry. This has been Fortt Knox Live. I am John Fortt at the New York Stock Exchange. See you next time.